Hello and welcome back everyone, Joe Malden here with another doll sewing tutorial, and today we'll be making a cardigan. I also really want to show you how the use of different materials really affects the final product of the sewn garment, so you guys can take a look and see how each final product just kind of has its own style and aesthetic. When tracing your patterns, go ahead and trace out 2 front pieces, 1 back piece on fold. And now for the neckband, it's totally up to you. As long as you use the measurement length that I give you, the width is totally up to you. As you can see right here on the striped cardigan, Mima has a wider neckband while Chi has a thinner one. As you can see, they all look differently, but still both look really good. Once all your pieces are cut out, you're all set to start sewing. Once I'm done cutting, I personally love to arrange my pieces with the right sides facing each other. That way I can zip through the sewing and make it as quickly and easy as possible. Once your machine is all warmed up, let's start off by sewing the shoulder seams on both sides. I like to sew at 1/4 of an inch or at 1/2 centimeter. Once you sew the shoulder seam, go ahead and hem the end of the sleeve. Once again, 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 centimeter. Once you're done hemming the sleeves, go ahead and flip everything back over, match up the end of the sleeve, and sew that underseam. Do not forget to align everything neatly before you sew, otherwise any sort of distortment at the top or the end of the sleeve will kind of kill that illusion of a cohesive little cuff. And do not forget to trim any threads. So at this point you can kind of see the cardigan taking shape, so let's go ahead and pin the neckband as evenly as possible. So I do want to let you know that the thicker neckbands are a lot easier to sew than the thinner ones. Thinner ones just are a lot more intricate and do show mistakes a lot easier, so just want to save you a little headache. Once you pin, go ahead and sew it down at 1/2 centimeter or 1/4 of an inch. I do end up trimming the seam allowance here and there depending on the type of material and how thick it is. If it's thicker, I do recommend you trim. Now before we finish sewing the neckband, we're going to go ahead and hem the cardigan. I'm hemming at 1/2 inch, and if you're not using inches, you could hem at a little bit past 1 centimeter. Once this is hemmed, it's time to finish off the neckband. As you can see, I'm kind of folding the end of the neckband a little bit past that previous seam we just sewed, and as you can see right here, that pin is going to resemble the stitch and it's going to hold it if we sew right next to it. So here I am sewing it. I like to fold it a little bit past that previous seam as I mentioned, and you could even feel it if your fabric is thick enough. You could feel it and it'll be an easy guide. And if you're wondering, I'm not stitching directly in the ditch. That would take me hours since I would want it to be perfect, so I avoid that. I stitch a little bit past the ditch, a little bit on the side of the ditch, not necessarily in it. It's just a lot easier for me. And here I am showing it once again on the striped cardigan, giving you a better look. Just fold it over, make sure that fold is a little bit past that previous seam, and stitch right next to it. I do want to give you a heads up about using thinner fabrics for this pattern. It is a little bit more difficult in my experience with the orange fabric that I used for Mima's cardigan. It ended up needing an extra stitching to hold down the seam allowance for the neckband before I could actually stitch it, because the seam allowance would just get in the way and make me skip stitches. So just a little heads up to keep in mind. Either stitch it down or trim it so much that it just won't get in the way when you're sewing. So with the neckband sewed on, let's go ahead and give everything a good press. I like to iron the neckband flat before folding everything in on itself and giving it a good press to make everything a lot more neater and clean. Now you could technically put these on your doll as they are now, but for those of you who want a little more detail, let's go ahead and do some pockets. They're so easy to learn how to do, and I promise you once you learn how to do them, you're going to want to add pockets to everything. Here are all the cardigans all ironed and all cute. Look at them. Now it makes me kind of want a cardigan for myself. Alright, so now that you're done sewing and ironing, let's go ahead and choose the one you're going to add your pocket to and cut out a little square in any size that you like. Once you cut your little square, go ahead and iron down all 4 sides as evenly as you can. I'm using fleece, so it's a little bit thicker for me, and I did struggle a bit with it, so. Alright, I do reference back to my first pocket. If you're only doing one pocket, it could really be whatever size you want without worrying about what the next one will be. But since I already did one, I kind of want it to match so it doesn't look all crazy and wonky. Alright, so once you iron all both sides, go ahead and hem only one side, and this side will be the top side. That's going to be the opening of the pocket. Alright, once you stitch that down, go ahead and position your pocket where you're going to want it on whatever side, and simply stitch down in a U motion. So like stitch down, turn, do a little pivot, top stitch the edge once again, the bottom side, and then we pivot once more. Now, on thicker materials, it's a lot harder, like I mentioned, to make it look clean. And as you can see, I did struggle here a few times, more than once to be honest. So if you don't get it on your first try, do not feel bad. I didn't get it either, and it's totally normal to go back in there and top stitch until it looks clean. Knowing me and mentioning the whole stitch in the ditch thing, you can see that I am a perfectionist and I like to make things look nice, but even then I have my days where I just can't get it right. So if that happens to you with some fleece or whatever project that has some sort of little fibers, go ahead and just rub it out. When you rub them, you pull out the fibers that were stitched over, and then it helps them cover up the stitching, so it kind of makes it blend in. It's just a little secret for those of you who are still sticking around, and bam, there's your cardigan. To put on your cardigan, simply take the hands off, swing the arms back, and slide it on. So now that the girls are wearing the cardigans, I really want to show you guys how the different materials really affect the final look of the cardigan once you're done sewing. Now, in my humble opinion, I really think that the thicker materials create a more constructed and formal vibe, while the looser, thinner materials give off a really casual look that I also really love. Another aspect that really changes up the look of the cardigan is the neckband and the width, from thin to thick. They all really change it up. Here you can see that extra stitch line that I did to hold down the seam allowance to be able to sew the neckband correctly. So yeah, basically, no matter what you go with, they're all going to have their own challenges and other parts that are a lot easier. It just really depends on your material and what you choose to do. Over here, Mima also has the longer neckband on the striped cardigan, while Chi once again has the fleece with the shorter one and a pocket. And I just hope this little demonstration really shows you guys how one pattern can have a million different looks, and it all totally depends on the type of materials you use and how you sew them. So I really hope you enjoyed today's video and had a lot of fun. I do want to see all of you guys' cardigans, so do tag us on Instagram at Joesewz, JOESEWZ on Instagram. Do not forget to leave a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, welcome, and comment below what you liked most and if you'll be trying today's pattern. See you guys next time.